Some children are born quiet. Some are born stubborn. But once in a lifetime, a child is born whom the world itself cannot ignore. Onome was that child. Only 10 years old, yet her name was already written in the secrets only nature could read. And her story began on a morning when the village was still half asleep, and the wind called her for the very first time. The sun had barely risen when Onome stepped outside, the soft, white sand cool under her feet. The air smelled fresh, as if rain had washed the whole world clean during the night. Birds hopped from branch to branch. The sky stretched wide and bright above the peaceful village of Otoro. Everything felt calm, but inside the calmness was a strange silence, like the world was waiting for something. Onome stood still, staring at the sky as if she was expecting it to speak. She was a gentle child, small, observant, the kind who watched the world more than she talked. Other children her age ran around, chased chickens, or shouted across the compound. But Onome preferred quiet places where she could draw in the sand or listen to the soft sounds nobody else heard. That morning, she felt something different in the air. A tingling, a quiet pull, like the world wanted her attention. Then, the wind blew. It wasn't the normal kind of wind. It didn't just pass by. No, this one circled her carefully, wrapping around her thin arms like an invisible hand. It brushed her cheeks, lifted her short braids, and whispered against her ear. Onome. Her heart skipped. She blinked and stood straighter. Maybe it was just the breeze. Maybe she imagined it. But then the wind came again, stronger this time, more intentional. Onome! She stepped back slightly, eyes wide. Her mother always said morning winds carried old spirits, and she should not wander when the world was still waking up. But Onome didn't feel afraid. The voice in the wind felt familiar, gentle, almost like someone calling her home. She swallowed and whispered, "Who is there?" Instead of answering, the breeze moved away slowly, drifting toward the edge of the village, where tall palm trees stood like silent giants. It paused, waiting, almost like someone beckoning with a finger. Onome hesitated. She should return inside. She should call Mama. But something deep inside her, something she didn't understand, pulled her forward. Her feet began to move. The white sand was soft beneath her steps. The morning air became cooler the closer she got to the palm grove. Birds stopped singing, as if watching her. Even the leaves above seemed to freeze in place. When she reached the biggest palm tree, everything went still. This tree was known in Otoro. Children avoided it. Elders warned about it. They called it the silent tree. They said a powerful spirit lived inside it, one older than the village itself. The wind stopped moving. The silence became heavy. Onome slowly lifted her hand. The moment her small palm touched the rough trunk, a warm shock rushed through her arm and into her chest. She gasped softly. The ground trembled with a quiet rhythm, like distant drums calling from under the earth. Then a voice spoke from inside the tree. Deep, calm, ancient. "Child of the white sun, you have awakened." Onome froze. She tried to pull her hand away, but it felt glued to the bark, held by something that was not physical. "You hear the wind. You feel the earth. The gift inside you has risen. The time has come." Onome's voice trembled. "I don't understand." the tree responded, its voice rolling through the air like thunder hidden inside a whisper. You were born chosen. The world has waited, and now you must rise. Before she could breathe again, the tree glowed. A bright white light seeped out through the cracks in the trunk. Onome squeezed her eyes shut. The light grew sharper, brighter, until the tree split open slightly. A floating white stone drifted out. It shone like a small piece of the sun, warm, pure, alive. It moved toward her until it hovered right above her hands. Take it, the voice commanded. Onome's fingers shook as she reached out. The stone sunk gently into her palms. The moment she touched it, warm energy exploded through her small body. Her eyes glowed faintly. The wind swirled around her. Light danced under her skin. Then, quiet. The tree closed. The glow faded. The white stone turned still. And Onome stood, trembling, clutching the stone against her chest. Something had changed inside her. She didn't know what it was, but she could feel it moving like soft light in her veins. Footsteps rushed behind her. When she turned, Mama stood there, breathing hard, wrapper tied hurriedly as if she ran from the house. Onome, Mama shouted. What are you doing here? I have been calling you since. Onome closed quickly around the stone. Mama grabbed her shoulders and studied her face. Why are your eyes shining like that? What touched you? I don't know, she whispered. Mama looked toward the silent tree. Fear flashed across her eyes. We must go, she said sharply. She pulled Onome away from the grove, glancing back as if expecting the tree to open again. At home, Mama paced the small room. Onome sat quietly, holding the stone inside her closed fists. Her heart beat fast, not with fear, but with a strange new strength. That night, the wind returned to her window, gentle and soft. Onome. She held the stone close. The voice in the wind whispered again. Your journey has begun. The morning after the wind called her, Onome woke up with a strange heaviness in her chest. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes. The small room felt different, as if the air inside it was watching her. She looked at her hand. The white stone was still there, glowing faintly like it had a heartbeat of its own. She held it close for a moment. It felt warm, almost comforting. Yet she didn't understand why the world suddenly expected greatness from a 10-year-old girl who barely understood her own dreams. Outside, the village was already busy. Women were pounding yam, men were sharpening machetes, and children were laughing as they chased each other around the sandy compounds. Everything looked normal. Everything sounded normal. But Onome felt far from normal. When she stepped outside, some of the villagers paused and looked at her. Their eyes stayed on her a little too long. Some whispered quietly to each other. She felt uncomfortable. Mama wrapped her arms around her. Don't mind them, she whispered. They are only afraid of what they don't understand. Onome looked up at her mother. Mama, what do I do now? Mama sighed deeply. You must learn. You must listen. And you must be strong. Learn what? Listen to what? Be strong for what? Onome didn't know, but she followed Mama silently to the marketplace to buy vegetables. As they walked, the wind gently brushed her arm. Onome. She stopped. Mama noticed and squeezed her hand tightly. Don't follow any voice today, Mama warned. Not until we understand what your gift is truly calling you to do. But the wind did not stop calling her name. It followed her like a shadow. In the market, people stared more openly now. Some stepped away. Some greeted her with shaky smiles. Some whispered loudly enough for her to hear. Is that not the girl from the silent tree? Is she the one the elders warned about? Look at her eyes. Is that normal? Onome felt smaller with each passing minute. She wanted to hide, she wanted to be invisible, she wanted everything to return to the way it was yesterday. Then a loud horn echoed from the village gate. Everyone froze. The sound echoed again, this time deeper, stronger, urgent. The horn of warning. Fear spread across the market women like fire. People began to grab their children, gather their goods, and rush toward their homes. Onome clung to Mama's wrapper. What is happening? Mama grabbed her shoulders. We must go home now. Something dangerous is coming. Onome's heart beats faster. Her hand tightened around the stone inside her pocket. Before they could move, the ground trembled softly under them. At first, it felt like the vibration of pounding yam, but then it grew stronger, like giant footsteps approaching. People screamed and ran. Dust rose in the air. From the village gate, tall shadows approached slowly. Creatures. Not human. They were shaped like men, but made from dry, cracked earth. Their eyes glowed red. Their steps shook the ground with each movement. They looked ancient, angry, and powerful. Earthwalkers. Mystical beings. Older than any human tribe. The elders only spoke of them in fearful stories. They protected the secrets of the earth. They did not appear unless something important had happened. Something like a white stone choosing a child. Mama pulled Onome behind her. Do not move. The Earthwalkers stopped in the center of the market. Everyone held their breath. Dust swirled around them, their voices rolled like thunder as the biggest one stepped forward. Where is the child chosen by the white sun? The crowd trembled. Mama held Onome tighter, her nails digging into her daughter's arm. Don't answer, she whispered shakily. But Onome could feel something inside her reacting. The white stone grew hot in her pocket, her chest burned as if the light inside her wanted to rise. She felt dizzy. The Earthwalker's eyes glowed brighter as they turned slowly. We can sense her. She is near. Onome took a step back. Mama covered her mouth to hide her breathing. The whole marketplace became silent, waiting, trembling. Then the wind blew. Strong, sharp, violent. It swirled around Onome alone, lifting her braids, shaking the sand around her feet. Mama gasped. No, please. The stone slipped out of Onome's hand and floated into the air. The Earthwalkers stopped moving. They stared directly at her. The villagers turned, eyes wide with fear and shock. Onome stood alone in the center of the market, surrounded by spinning wind and glowing sand. The white stone hovered above her head, like a tiny sun. The biggest Earthwalker stepped forward. So, the white sun child has awakened. Mama fell to her knees. Please, she is only a child. Leave her alone. The Earthwalker lowered his head towards Onome. Dust fell from his cracked face. She carries the light. She must be tested. Before Onome could think, before she could even breathe, the world shifted. The ground split open beneath her feet. She cried out as she fell, not into darkness, but into a bright space filled with swirling light and floating earth. She was alone. The Earthwalkers' voices echoed around her. Child of the white sun, use your gift. I don't know how, Onome shouted, shaking. Use it, or be destroyed. Her hands trembled, her heart raced. She closed her eyes tightly. She had no teacher, no idea what to do, no one to save her. But then she heard it. Soft, gentle, familiar. Onome. The wind wrapped around her, calming her shaking shoulders. The earth beneath her hummed softly. She felt a warmth in her chest spreading slowly. The stone glowed. Onome opened her eyes and gasped. The world responded to her. The wind spun gently around her like a friend. The earth rose up in small shapes beneath her feet, lifting her. The white stone shone brighter, filling her with courage. She raised her small hand slowly, and the wind obeyed. It swirled stronger. The earth obeyed. It rose, forming a protective wall around her. Light obeyed. It burst from the stone like a small sunrise. The earthwalkers fell silent. The wind whispered softly, "You are not weak. You are chosen. You are gifted." Onome felt bravery rise inside her. She stretched her hand forward. The light grew stronger, brighter, and warm, like the sun. It surrounded her completely. The earthwalkers bowed their stone heads. "You have passed." The light faded, and Onome suddenly found herself back in the market. People were kneeling. Mama rushed to her, crying with relief and holding her tightly. The earthwalkers slowly sank into the ground, returning to the earth they came from. Before disappearing completely, the biggest one spoke again. "Protect your gift, child. And protect your world." The market became quiet again. Slowly, villagers stood up. They did not whisper anymore. They did not stare with fear. They stared with respect, with awe, with hope. Mama touched Onome's cheeks. "My child, what you carry is powerful, but you must use it well. You must use it for good." Onome nodded slowly. "Mama,